How's this week been at GRM?
Yeah. Welcome back indeed, and welcome back to you, Carl. Another incredible week, and just because things are so busy at the moment, and busy is beautiful, as they say. We've got we've really made a big push on our projects in the infrastructure, finance, and corporate space, and both for East Africa and for South Africa. So we're doing a lot of work in the UK, and I'm going very shortly because they want the clients want candidates from there as well as local, which is a phenomenal opportunity for people to move to a growing market as most of Africa is. But also it goes to show there's a commitment to internationalize some of the growing markets in Africa, and I'm very, very happy about that. I mean, that just shows a real commitment to growth, because whilst we want to obviously protect the local workforce and make sure that the local lawyers are getting great opportunities, every market that's ever grown into an incredible economy has been done by clever immigration from a skills perspective, especially when it comes to the law and finance and things like that. So, yeah, we're working very closely with clients in East Africa, South Africa, and we are bringing them the very best partners from across the world with client base and track record. You're going to be reading about it in the legal headlines very, very soon. So I'm very excited about the work that's been going on.
Let's talk about AI within the law industry.
Yeah, hot topic again. It's basically been a year or so since the term AGI came into our lexicon in the legal space. It was about March 2022 when something happened. I don't know what it was, but it just exploded, and everybody in law was talking about AI, and a lot of frightened faces and people asking what's going on. Is this the end of lawyers? Anyway, we're past that, and people are starting to realise that what a phenomenal world the legal world is moving into in terms of this transition of the best lawyers using the best technology to bring the best legal solutions to their clients. Law firms are realizing that the use of incredible technology alongside some of their phenomenal professionals means that there's not a reduction in fees. In fact, if anything, I think clients are willing to pay more. I think let's look back a step before we get into AI and AGI. Where does this all come from? I've said it before and I'll say it again until I'm blue in the face, but it's value for money. Clients are getting largely, and this is a sweeping statement, this is a global industry, but a lot of clients are getting very sick and tired of paying for what they believed wasn't value for money. So they look for alternatives. That's why we've seen the rise of alternative legal service providers. That's why we're looking at firms using technology. But when it boils down to it, the reason you use legal services or law firms is because you need to use them, you want to use them, you want them to solidify whatever business deal or the business you're developing and protect it. And for that, you don't mind paying. And if someone comes to me and says, we are utilizing the very best lawyers alongside the very best technology, I'm all for it. I will happily pay that bill. So I think everything's settling down, and legal tech is an incredible space. The technology is improving all the time. It isn't increasing a huge amount of jobs across Africa yet. We've got some statistics that show slow and steady growth. But most of that will be in the law firms themselves. And prime example would be someone like Webber Wentzel here in South Africa, who have their fusion department that they're building and growing, which is fusing the law and the technology. We'll see a lot more of that as well. So we're now in a comfortable space with AI where lawyers are realizing it's there, it's brilliant. lot of great tools, and it means that they are going to be doing things quicker, reviewing documentation quicker. They're still going to need their technical eye. It's going to improve the quality of the industry, and for that, law firms will be able to keep charging good fees, and everybody should be embracing it. So it's nice to see that the last year has settled down, and now everyone can look forward and enjoy and I implore anyone out there to get themselves to a legal tech conference. There's one in California in June, there's one in Kenya, there's one in Uganda. They're the three of the best ones. Keep an eye out for them.
What should law firms look at doing for growth?
It's a good question, and I touched on it last week in the last video when I was talking about expectations and when they're hiring and from a revenue perspective, but also potentially looking at merging. I think that's one thing that law firms across all of the African markets should look at. And I'm not talking about the big guys here, I'm talking mainly about the medium-sized firms. Come together and increase your client base that way. That's one option. Secondly, there's no reason why some of the medium-sized firms can't open offices in other countries. You find the right people to do it with, which obviously GRM can help with. Why can't a South African company have an office in Botswana or Namibia? Why can't a Namibian law firm have an office in Ghana? There's no reason why you can't. Go where the opportunities are. Keep growing, whilst also looking after your local home market. So mergers, acquisitions, growth, expectations when it comes to the revenues that your clients are bringing in. But also, I just touched on AI. Right? That's another thing. Utilize the technology that's out there. Look at what can improve your service. I said this to a partner the other day. If you were building a law firm from scratch today, how different would it look from what you've currently got? That gentleman said very, and I agree. There are lots of opportunities to protect the revenue makers at the top, to incorporate technology into everything, have a Pan-African offering, to really focus on marketing, business development, events, and to do it in a less traditional way. And I think these are some of the opportunities for growth that I'm happy to talk to anybody about. We have strategies that they can employ, but I would say move away from the risk-averse nature and get out there. The next 20 years in Africa is your time to make hay while the sun shines, I think it is.
For anybody looking to get or have an international career, what would you advise or talk about?
Yeah, it's one of the things that I get asked a lot because obviously I'm from overseas, and I do bless some of the lawyers that come to me and expect me to have all the answers. I wish I did. Right, we'll put the links below. There's two interviews I did recently on our Legal Unicorns podcast. One was with Ruth Gondwe, and there's one with Oliver Kabongo. And both of these are young, talented lawyers who have. Oliver was born in the DRC, moved to South Africa, moved to Australia, now working in London. And Ruth was born in Malawi, moved to South Africa, moved to London, then moved to South Africa. Anyway, she's now working for Webber Wentzel Fusion, so building a career in legal tech, whereas Oliver is more in the M&A traditional law space. Watch those videos, because those guys say the same thing that I often say to lawyers at any stage of their career, at any age. And it sounds very easy to say, but the one golden rule is, if you want it, you will get it. Make it happen. You'll see with Ruth and Oliver in those interviews, and one thing that came shining through for me was how deliberate they've been. They wanted it, so they worked really hard on that path, and will continue to do so. So that for me is really the couple of lessons that I can take, that people can take away from this, is that, if you really want it bad enough, you'll get it. You don't have to make a plan and strategize and structure it. You just get out there, make it happen. I did it, Ruth did it, Oliver did it, many people did it. And having an international career gives you more insight than anybody else. When Oliver returns, if Oliver ever returns to South Africa or the DRC, or if Ruth ever expands back her career back into other parts of Africa or returns to Malawi, or, you know, I often say, well, it's said to me sometimes in terms of me being here as well, the amount of global experience you're bringing into that that market, the market and the people who work with you can only benefit. So, and that's what we're all about, right? Making sure that everybody benefits and leveling the playing field.
Yeah, so what's coming next in the market and at GRM?
Yeah, good question. You know, I'm gonna, I mean, obviously I love these interviews and they're great, but sometimes a little bit too long. But I do often say, you know, big things are coming, and they are. The rest of this year, we will see continued growth across most of the major African markets. M&A activity is increasing, private equity activity is increasing. Once the elections, and I can't think off the top of my head which African nations are having elections, but there's a handful of them. And once that's all settled down, and you know, then foreign investment comes back in, and you know, it's ready to grow again, that's going to increase the number of jobs and opportunities that are coming. So we're going to see continued growth, and I think that will go into 2025 as well. It won't be phenomenal growth, but it will be good, steady growth across the markets. Those markets that are really in development phase, that are getting it right, like a Tanzania, for instance, that's going to just keep growing and growing and growing, and the opportunities are endless. For those lawyers that want an international career, they need to be speaking to us. In terms of in-house, it's steady growth across the region. More foreign investment will mean more law. You know, take for instance, Amazon just started hiring their first small legal team in their African head office, which is here in Cape Town. So there's slow, steady growth, but it's never going to be, it's going to take at least 20 years to get into a really massive size in terms of in-house, in terms of number of different opportunities. Then you've got legal tech as well, which is still growing. You know, most of the positions at the moment are either operational or advisory or sales, so they need to keep growing. Most of those positions actually, in terms of the operational and advisory, are actually in law firms as they look to adapt more technology into their solutions, which is great. So there's steady growth on that side of things. But law firms are going to continue to grow. I think this is something that I always say, if you compare law, where law is now, to two other industries, massive industries, obviously investment bank and finance, huge, one of the biggest in the world, and then maybe one of the top 20 industries, which is staffing and recruitment. Both of those two industries really embrace technology wonderfully well. Everything that comes out gets adopted. And law is at the beginning of that. Those two industries grow rapidly, not just revenue, but jobs and opportunities all the time because of their embracing of technology alongside people skills. Law's at the beginning of that. So that's the next couple of years in the private practice market are going to be wonderful. Get in and have a wonderful career and enjoy the law. GRM, yeah, look, I touched on it in the last video and I'll touch on it again. We have huge events coming up. We have massive plans, which again, I can't say, but I'm going to have to say next week otherwise. But this is something that we're working on behind the scenes, which is going to bring together the legal market across all of Africa, in every African nation. I can't say any more than that, but it's something that's going to be running for 2 years. Well, it's going to be a continuous running thing, but that's being put together by our events team at the moment. But the idea being that we bring the African legal market together in much the same way as the African Union would like us to bring us as business leaders to bring it together. I'm very excited about those plans, and I promise I'll say more next week, because otherwise I just feel like I'm teasing something out there that doesn't make any sense. But there's going to be something in the legal market that's going to be touching it's going to be happening in every African country, and it's I'll release that detail next week. We're continuing to grow. I'm going to be traveling very soon, as I mentioned last week, to go and see candidates and clients across the region. We've got massive projects that we're delivering at the moment, and they are wrapping up very, very soon, which are on the recruitment and research side of things, bringing that top level resourcing to our law firm clients. And the final thing to say will be on the in-house side of things. We do a lot of research about this time of year on remuneration, and we do remuneration reports for legal teams in corporates. So I think I mentioned it before in a couple of videos ago, where last year we did work in telco and insurance and finance, construction and mining businesses who wanted to really look at and benchmark their legal team against some of their competition. Those requests are flying in. So if you're listening to this and you're in that space and you're head of legal or a GC and you need benchmarking reports, drop me a line.